Welcome everyone. My name is Debopom Sanyal and I am your personal coach. So we are going to talk about ignorance today. Ignorance is one of the most problematic area of leadership. Now, what kind of ignorance I'm talking about? When we see signs, warning signs, but choose to ignore those. How? For example, and I try to bring in examples from real life which I experienced. I'll just give you one very relatable example. When I did my different medical checkups and all that, I found out that I have different level cholesterol levels. The LDL was high, triglyceride was high, HDL was low, right? So that was a symptom. That was a warning sign, a red flag, which came to me that okay, this is a problem and I must go and check it. What did I do? You guessed it, ignored. I ignored it. I did not really pay attention to that level. I did not really pursue it with a good doctor where I can go and see and check it further. If I had checked it, I could have saved myself from an operation, from all those agony that I had to go through. But this is exactly what we do in our world, in corporate world as well, right? When we see warning signs, we choose to ignore it. Now, there are two reasons why you do ignore it. First, that is something that we think is not our business. As a leader, sometimes this is not my job. I'm a manager, right? And I should do this, and this problem, it belongs to someone else's area, so I won't do that. That's the first kind of ignorance, because I think that's not part of my job. The second reason is I think I won't be able to solve it. If I think that I won't be able to solve it, why should I go and poke at that? Because if I go and poke at the problem and I'm not able to solve it, everybody else will come back at me. Everybody else come back at me and then say, you tried, Debo, why did you try if you cannot solve it? That's again my imagination and my assumptions, right? And the third, I'm truly oblivion to all these things going around me, right? So I don't really know what's going around. Is it a red flag? Is it a problem? I don't know, right? And that's also true. That's possible, right? When we sometimes don't really understand what's going on, we fail to read those signs, those messages. One, maybe because we are not aware, not present. Our mind is not really there, and that's why, right? So, in all of these situations, when we ignore these red flags, these problems, what happen? These problems grow bigger. It goes bigger every day. And it comes back to you. And it haunts you back. Because these problems are now much bigger to solve. It takes a lot more effort to be solved. However, if we would have picked it at that point of time, just like my cholesterol level, would have been able to solve it. It would have been much easier for me to deal with this situation. Now, there's an inherent problem to it. And the problem is management. And you might say, why management? What did management do this time? Nothing. Management is a very good thing. Management is required. But the idea of management is very different than leadership. Why? Let me tell you one thing. When you think about this word management, or you are a manager of something, what comes to your mind? I'm sure one of the things that would come to your mind is you have to sustain it. And now, when do you sustain something? What is that idea about sustaining? That means you already have a good process, good level of engagement, and you have to hold it together, manage it, sustain it. So anything that is not in that area purview of managing or sustaining, you choose to ignore it because that's not part of your job. Right? Leadership is something different. Leadership is not about only sustainability. It is sustainability. Of course, it is sustainability. But also it is about continuous improvement. So you do not choose to ignore these things. And who defines this manager? Who defines this leaders? No one. It's your choice. You can be, to be very honest, these are not designations that I'm talking about. These are not that, okay, I am senior manager, I am this, and that. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about your approach. I'm not talking about your role. I'm not talking about your designation. I'm talking about your approach. Whether in corporate, personal life, family life, everywhere, you can be either manager or you can be leader, where you include both sustainability and continuous improvement. And that's exactly what you have to do. So instead of, in those cases, you are aware that there are problems. You would seek those problems. You would try not to ignore. Your mind is aware. You're conscious, so you'll not miss those red flags. And when you won't miss your red flags, what will happen? Of course, you'll find those problems early. We all know failing fast is a very good thing, because failing is not a bad thing. If we fail at later stage, it becomes a monumental problem for us, right? So we need to ensure that we fail fast. And how do you do that? Without ignoring the problems, right? And it's not about only in projects, it's everywhere. Whether it's culture, whether it's people, the engagement, everywhere you see a problem, do not run away from it. Take a step, try to understand more about it. Why? Talk to people who are involved. You would gain a sense of the problem. When you gain this might be out of your control anyway. It might be a problem which you cannot solve, but you can understand and flag this problem at an appropriate level. Whichever, if you are just a fresher, you can always go back to your reporting manager and talk about it. So it's not that you don't really have any say. You have. If people or authority are not listening to you, then they are failing you, right? But if you do not go and tell them, then you are failing them. You are failing the organization. So don't fail the organization. Go and talk about the problems. Don't ignore the red flags. Go and talk about it. And that's how you can bring in, that's how you can improve. You can be a leader and you can make change happen. On that note, thank you so very much for listening, and please do share your experience and subscribe. And thank you so much. See you soon.